Hello Gates. Lee Van Cleef, born Clarence Leroy Van Cleef Jr. on January 9, 1925, in Somerville, New Jersey, came from a modest Dutch-American family. His early years offered little hint of the cinematic legacy he would one day build. After high school, he served honorably in the U.S. Navy during World War II, performing missions on a minesweeper in the Pacific. The discipline and composure he developed during this time would later define his screen presence. Returning home after the war, Van Cleef held various jobs, including accounting and painting, before his talent for acting was discovered in a local play. His breakthrough came in 1952 with a small, silent villain role in High Noon, where his striking features and intense gaze made him stand out despite minimal dialogue. Through the 1950s and early 1960s, Van Cleef frequently played supporting villains in westerns and crime dramas, often portraying henchmen, outlaws, or cold-blooded killers. Movies like Kansas City Confidential, 1952, The Big Combo, 1955, and The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, 1962, showcased his ability to dominate the screen without needing extensive dialogue. A severe car accident in 1958 threatened his career, leaving him with a knee injury, but the 1960s brought a resurgence when Italian director Sergio Leone cast him as Colonel Douglas Mortimer in For a Few Dollars More, 1965. His poised, vengeful bounty hunter earned him critical acclaim and marked the beginning of his rise as a leading man. He then starred alongside Clint Eastwood in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966, as Angel Eyes, solidifying his international fame and cementing his status as the quintessential stoic antihero. Van Cleef embraced the spaghetti western genre, appearing in European classics like Sabata, 1969, Death Rides a Horse, 1967, The Big Gundown, 1966, and Day of Anger, 1967. His on-screen presence was defined by quiet authority and moral complexity, a stark contrast to the brash heroism of other Western stars. He later diversified into television and action films, appearing in Escape from New York, 1981, as the authoritarian police commissioner Hawk and starring in NBC's series The Master, 1984, demonstrating his adaptability to evolving entertainment trends. Van Cleef's personal life saw 3 marriages. His first, to Patty Ruth Cale in 1943, produced 3 children but ended in 1958. He married Joan Marjorie Drain in 1960, a period coinciding with his career resurgence, but they divorced in 1974. His final marriage, to Barbara Havalone in 1976, lasted until his death in 1989, with Barbara providing stability during his later years and illness. Despite his professional respect, Van Cleef was known for harboring grudges against several prominent Hollywood actors. He reportedly disliked John Wayne, viewing him as pompous and dismissive of European westerns, despite their shared status as Western icons. Van Cleef resented Charles Bronson for securing roles Van Cleef had hoped for, including the lead in Once Upon a Time in the West, and often criticized Bronson's understated acting. His relationship with Clint Eastwood, though initially collaborative in iconic films, soured over perceived neglect and missed opportunities for further joint projects. Telly Savalas' flamboyant personality clashed with Van Cleef's disciplined professionalism, and Van Cleef reportedly refused to work with him again. Yul Brynner's theatricality and ego drew Van Cleef's disdain, particularly over incidents involving co-star dynamics at festivals and interviews. Finally, James Coburn, whose effortless charm Van Cleef viewed as superficial, became a source of quiet frustration, especially after Coburn secured roles Van Cleef coveted. Van Cleef's reputation for integrity, discipline, and disdain for studio politics defined both his career and personal relationships. He continued acting despite heart disease and other health challenges until his death from a heart attack on December 16, 1989, in Oxnard, California. Behind his steely on-screen persona was a man deeply committed to his craft, whose conflicts with some of Hollywood's biggest stars reflected his unwavering dedication to artistic excellence rather than mere ego. This recounting of his life, career, and famous rivalries captures the complexity of Lee Van Cleef, a figure who remains an enduring icon of the Western genre and cinematic anti-heroism.